We're going to speak with Wolfgang Halbig. This whole Sandy Hook situation has not gone away. In fact, the opposition, those who want to keep this thing as it was presented to the public, as a horrible shooting that happened in Newtown, Connecticut. Well, they're pulling out all the stops, and they're doing some things that are just downright illegal, in my opinion, and in the opinions of many people familiar with what they are doing, and most importantly, the law. So we'll get an update from Wolfgang. And then you may have heard about this pipeline that's wanted up in North Dakota. You may have heard of this Standing Rock situation. We're going to speak with James Martinez and Wesley Clark. He is the son of General Wesley Clark, and it is my understanding that General Clark does not support what his son is doing. But I'll let them explain exactly what it is they're doing and the philosophy behind it. Now, here's a little bit of good news. It's about cancer. It's about prostate cancer. This is by Sarah Napton, science editor for thetelegraph.co.uk, published today. A man with advanced prostate cancer is believed to have been cured after doctors shocked his tumor to death with huge amounts of testosterone. The result has been described as unexpected and exciting because most prostate cancer therapies work by depriving tumors of testosterone because cancer uses it as a fuel. Other seriously ill men taking part in the same trial showed responses that astounded scientists, with tumors shrinking and the progress of their disease halted. Levels of prostate-specific antigen, or PSA, it's a blood marker used to monitor prostate cancer, also fell in the majority of the 47 participants. One individual whose PSA levels dropped to 0 after 3 months and shows no remaining trace of the disease after 22 cycles of treatment appears to be cured, said the researchers. Professor Sam Denmead from Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, Baltimore, who led the study, said, "Our goal is to shock the cancer cells by exposing them rapidly to very high, followed by very low levels of testosterone in the blood. The results are unexpected and exciting. We're still in the early stages of figuring out how this works and how to incorporate it into the treatment paradigm for prostate cancer. Many of the men have stable disease that has not progressed for more than 12 months. I think we may have cured one man whose PSA dropped to 0 after 3 months and has remained so now for 22 cycles. His disease has all disappeared." So, excellent. All right, now let's see here. This is disturbing. From GatesstoneInstitute.org, a German court has ruled that 7 Islamists who formed a vigilante patrol to enforce Sharia law on the streets of Wuppertal did not break German law and were simply exercising their right to free speech. The ruling, which effectively legitimizes Sharia law in Germany, is one of a growing number of instances in which German courts are, wittingly or unwittingly, promoting the establishment of a parallel Islamic legal system in that country. The self-appointed Sharia police sparked public outrage in September 2014 when they distributed yellow leaflets which established a Sharia-controlled zone in the Eberfeld district of Wuppertal. The men urged both Muslim and non-Muslim passers-by to attend mosques and to refrain from alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, gambling, music, pornography, and prostitution. The vigilantes are followers of Salafism, a virulently anti-Western ideology that openly seeks to replace democracy in Germany and elsewhere with an Islamic government based on Sharia law. The ideology posits that Sharia law is superior to secular common law because it emanates from Allah, the only legitimate lawgiver, and thus is legally binding eternally for all humanity. According to the Salafist worldview, democracy is an effort to elevate the will of humans above the will of Allah, and is therefore a form of idolatry and must be rejected. In other words, Sharia law and democracy are incompatible. Now, Dan Lyman released some information on his site regarding Amazon, which has released a new television advertisement featuring a Catholic priest and a Muslim imam chumming it up over a cup of tea. The dialogue-free commercial opens with an imam in full Islamic regalia visiting the home of an elderly man in plain clothes but the clerical collar, where they make small talk and laugh and they affectionately touch each other and all of this. You've heard of the half Nelson, the full Nelson, and the Father Nelson, right? No, never mind, I'm kidding. As they stand to bid bye-bye, they both grab their knees in pain. Moments later, after parting ways, they place orders on their Amazon Prime smartphone apps. Gift boxes are delivered to each, followed by scenes of the imam entering a mosque and the other man entering a Catholic church, now in priest's robes. It is then revealed that they sent knee pads to each other as gifts, so they can kneel and pray in their respective houses of worship. Mainstream media is ecstatic about the new ad, of course, universally propagating the talking point that is a total repudiation of Trump, according to this notorious hive of liberalism and villainy, in my opinion, the Daily Beast. David Goldman at CNN wrote, Amazon's ad offers a not-so-subtle counter-argument to some of the angry anti-Muslim rhetoric espoused by President-elect Donald Trump and his supporters. As talk of Muslim registries and even a potential ban on Muslim immigrants approaches, Amazon's message offers a different approach. We are people first. We embrace the things that make us different, but we're all very much the same. Muslims have arthritis too. Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon and owner of the Washington Post, did you know that? Made a rare appearance on Twitter to express his pride in the commercial. Love this TV commercial for Amazon Prime. Very proud of our ad team. An Islamic historian, Christina Laila, offered her take on the message. It's another way to put Muslims on your TV, on your computers, in your homes, as if they are in the fabric of Western society. Amazon is implying that an imam and a priest both basically pray to the same God, as if they're the same religion, same belief system. The depiction of an imam walking into a priest's home and hugging him and having tea with him is ridiculous. Amazon recently came under fire for banning sales of the Confederate flag while still carrying ISIS and Hamas flags, paraphernalia, and publications. A Catholic priest in Normandy, France, was beheaded in July by Muslim terrorists in Islamic garb, storming the church during morning mass, forcing the priest to kneel at the altar, where they filmed themselves slitting his throat in front of the congregation. Comments have been disabled for the Amazon video, in contrast with most other content posted to their YouTube channel, but that's not really surprising, is it? So, I use Amazon frequently when I'm talking to a guest here, and he brings up a book while we're having a conversation. I can multitask a little bit. I'll go over to Amazon and buy the book by the author he's talking about. Because most of the time, not all the time, but some of the time, authors that we interview on the program, they'll send me a copy of their book anyway, just so I'll know what they're talking about. But this is getting a little tedious. Amazon has so much control over the U.S. economy, it would be shocking to the system to realize it in full. So, as I always say, if you want something to go away, quit buying it. Or how about this one? The more conveniences, the less convenient your life becomes. Oh, Facebook Incorporated is working on automatically flagging offensive material in live video streams. This is from Yahoo.com via Reuters by Christina Cook. Building on a growing effort to use artificial intelligence to monitor content. Social media company has been embroiled in a number of content moderation controversies this year, from facing international outcry after removing an iconic Vietnam War photo due to nudity, to allowing the spread of fake news on its site. Facebook has historically relied mostly on users to report offensive posts, which are then checked by Facebook employees against company community standards. Decisions on especially thorny content issues that might require policy changes are made by top executives at the company. Well, Joaquin Candela, the company's director of applied machine learning, told reporters that Facebook increasingly was using AI to find offensive material. It is an algorithm that detects nudity, violence, or any of the things that are not according to our policies, he said. The company already had been working on using automation to flag extremist video content, as Reuters reported in June. Now the automated system is also being tested on Facebook Live, the streaming video service for users to broadcast live video. Using AI to flag live video is still on the research stage. It has two challenges, Candela said. One, your computer vision algorithm has to be fast, and I think we can push there. And the other one is you need to prioritize things in the right way so that a human looks at it, an expert who understands our policies, and takes it down. Now, from globalresearch.ca, the CIA and the media, 50 facts the world needs to know. Now, I think I'm going to spare you the 50 facts, but I'll get into it a little bit tomorrow because this is kind of a long one. But in summary, or maybe a pre-summarization of the actual 50 points, since the end of World War II, CIA has been a major force in U.S. and foreign news media, exerting considerable influence over what the public sees, hears, and reads on a regular basis. CIA publicists and journalists alike will assert they have few, if any, relationships, yet the seldom acknowledged history of their intimate collaboration indicates a far different story, indeed one that media historians are reluctant to examine. When seriously practiced, the journalistic profession involves gathering information concerning individuals, locales, events, and issues. In theory, such information informs people about their world, thereby strengthening democracy. This is exactly the reason why news organizations and individual journalists are tapped as assets by intelligence agencies, and as the experiences of German journalist Udo Ulfkotte suggest, that's actually Ulfkotte, Udo Ulfkotte. This practice is at least as widespread today as it was at the height of the Cold War. Consider the cover-ups of election fraud in 2000-2004, the events of September 11, 2001, the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq, the destabilization of Syria, and the creation of ISIS. These are among the most significant events in recent world history, and yet they are also those much of the American public is wholly ignorant of. In an era where information and communication technologies are ubiquitous, prompting many to harbor the illusion of being well informed, one must ask why this condition persists. Further, why do prominent U.S. journalists routinely fail to question other deep events that shape America's tragic history over the past half-century, such as the political assassinations of the 60s or the central role played by CIA in international drug trafficking? Those are pretty good questions. Popular and academic commentators have suggested various reasons for the almost universal failure of mainstream journalism in these areas, including newsroom sociology, advertising pressure, monopoly ownership, news organizations' heavy reliance on official sources, and journalists' simple quest for career advancement. There is also no doubt the influence of professional public relations maneuvers. Yet such a broad conspiracy of silence suggests another province of deception examined far too infrequently, specifically the CIA and similar intelligence agencies' continued involvement in the news media to mold thought and opinion in ways scarcely imagined by the lay public. We're going to get into that tomorrow. And did you hear Megyn Kelly may jump to CNN? I think that's an extraordinarily good idea. So I went ahead and I went to the Drudge Report. The evil Matt Drudge. Oh, he's the devil. No, he's not. He's a news aggregator. And I clicked on this thing that said, vote. You want Megyn Kelly to go at CNN or stay at Fox? I said, go to CNN. You're a closet liberal, in my opinion, anyway. And it said, view results of the poll. 60-something% said Megyn should go to CNN. That's pretty amazing. I like it. One more thing from globalresearch.ca, which is where the last one came from. U.S. government has long used propaganda against the American people. Government's been deploying propaganda on U.S. soil for many years as part of an intelligence agenda. The United States Senate Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities found in 1975 that the CIA submitted stories to the American press. Heard of Operation Mockingbird? Here's a little bit about it. After 1953, the network was overseen by Allen W. Dulles, director of CIA. By this time, Operation Mockingbird had a major influence over 25 newspapers and wire agencies. Most of us can only name 2 or 3, maybe 5. The usual methodology was placing reports developed from intelligence provided by CIA to witting or unwitting reporters. Those reports would then be repeated or cited by the preceding reporters, which in turn would then be cited throughout the media wire services. So it's easy. The original network. Okay, now this is an unusual source for me to reference during this program. dailystar.co.uk. Russia, USA, and China are prepping for all-out space war. Superpowers are preparing to dominate in a devastating space war, which could destroy life on Earth as we know it, experts have warned. As countries seek to maintain control in outer space, competition between nations will give rise to apocalyptic cosmic attacks, according to security officials. Nightmare scenarios might leave vast swaths of the planet in the dark as intergalactic weapons knock out satellites and launch cyber attacks. General John Hyten, head of U.S. Strategic Command, told CNN, quote, "As humans go out there, there has always been conflict. Conflict in the Wild West as we move in the West. Conflict twice in Europe for its horrible world wars." So every time humans actually physically move into that, there's conflicts, and in that case, we'll have to be prepared for that. Could we use the word "that" a few more times? Nations in conflict might start to make plans to knock out an enemy's space infrastructure, such as satellites or space shuttles. Attacks on satellites could have devastating consequences, such as blacking out televisions. Oh no! Mobile networks and even the Internet. Yes, everything from GPS, stock markets, bank transactions, traffic lights, and railway switchboards could freeze, causing utter chaos. Planes could drop from the sky as they become unsure of their position and without data to steer them around storms. I got an idea. Look out the window. Just kidding. World leaders might not, maybe not. World leaders might not be able to communicate, and suspicion and hostility would cause panic. Armed drones would be out of contact. Smart bombs would be useless, and missile use would be futile. Worst of all, nuclear attack early warning systems would cease to function. Russian security forces have already pledged to establish moon bases in the near future to establish a foothold in space against their enemies. Peter Singer, who advises the U.S. Defense Department on space threats, said, "There's incentive to take that away from us, and that means if there was conflict on planet Earth, it would almost inherently start with some kind of conflict in space." Okay. Security experts have warned that the superpowers are already developing terrifying space technology. Russia has already developed multiple kamikaze satellites, such as the Cosmos 2499, which is designed to sidle up to American satellites and then, if ordered, disable or destroy them. There are suggestions that the Russians have also created technology capable of launching nukes in space. That sounds like a great name for a TV show. It should be produced in black and white. Nukes in space. China has launched the Xi'an, which is a spacecraft equipped with a grappling arm that could snatch satellites right out of orbit. This is like Moonraker. Hyten said, "We have very good surveillance and intelligence capabilities, so we can see the threats that are being built. So we're developing capabilities to defend ourselves. It's really that simple." Some experts have warned that governments must make space war illegal before all hell breaks loose. What a good idea. I got a better idea. Why don't we stop pointing nukes at each other? No, we can't do that. What, are you crazy? Yeah, I guess so. And one last note here from SputnikNews.com. Speaking of the Russians, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who served as the U.S. Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Economic Policy in the Reagan administration and a frequent guest on Caravan to Midnight, has asked President Vladimir Putin for a Russian passport in a tongue-in-cheek opinion post published in response to a recent article in the Washington Post on so-called Russian propaganda. And here's his quote. Now that CIA agent Craig Timberg, posing as a Washington Post reporter, has blown my cover and exposed me as a Russian agent, I was wondering if I might ask you for a Russian passport and a bit of diplomatic cover, he said with irony, referring to the Post national technology reporter. I saw that you gave a passport to Steven Seagal, so I'm hopeful that being a Russian agent is as important as teaching martial arts to the Russians. Okay. All right, let's have a beautiful musical interlude, and then let's get an update from Wolfgang Halbig. You know, Sandy Hook, it's just not what it was presented to the American public. It's not. In my opinion, it's a complete program. The man, the myth, the legend, Wolfgang Halbig. Wolfgang, how are you?
Well, I'm sort of concerned when you use the word legend. Legends are in the ground. They're dead, never to be heard from again.
Yeah, well, did you get those screenshots?
I haven't seen anything about that, but I didn't know I was a legend.
Yeah, you're definitely a legend. But let's just modify that to the living legend. Because, there were a couple of posts, one on Facebook and one via somebody's Gmail account, that indicated that you were found in your home in Florida having expired. And I just said, you know what? I call Bravo Sierra on this before I even know anything about it. This is I don't know what this is, but whatever it is, it's wrong. And here you are. So, woohoo, I was right. And I'm real happy about that, thank God. But I'm just wondering why somebody would send out something like that.
You know what? And that makes you really wonder what kind of people, what's the mindset of some of these people that would even do that? And again, nothing surprises me anymore with everything that's happening to me and Jonathan Reich. I mean, let me tell you something. I just hope somebody in your listening audience has a contact with President-elect Donald Trump or somebody on his staff. I just talked to the district attorney this morning in New York, where they have now not allowed Jonathan Reich to post bail. I talked to the state attorney this morning, and he said, I don't give a damn what you said. I mean, I've got it recorded. He said, I'm going to keep him in jail for 90 days. He's refusing to be extradited back to Connecticut, so we're going to keep him in our jail for 90 days and let him think about it. Now, whatever happened to emotions and caring and feeling and justice and due process?
Let's bring everybody up to speed. Jonathan Reich he's in trouble because he made a couple of phone calls and asked some questions, right?
And this is the key, right, John? But listen to the listener. The key, please write this down. He did that, right after Sandy Hook, and it was driven by the medical examiner, Dr. Wayne Carver, on his national news conference, when he made all of those stupid, ridiculous comments. Jonathan called him up at the office and said, look, I'm going to ask you some questions. And he kept calling and calling and calling. And John, finally, the medical examiner filed charges at the Avon, Connecticut Police Department, and they had Jonathan arrested for making harassing phone calls.
That's pretty strong. Usually the cops just show up and tell you, stop that.
Well, you know what? That's what I would have expected. They come to your door and say, hey, look, you're messing with an official that works for a state government. Hey, stop it, okay? But here's the thing, all Wayne Carver had to do is return his phone calls. That's what public officials are supposed to do. When I was a principal, assistant principal, you, John, you can call me, and I may not like you. I mean, you giving me a hard time as a parent. But you know what? I'm still responsible in returning the phone call in a timely manner. What frustrated Jonathan was that Carver thought he was above everybody else, and he refused to return the phone calls.
So Jonathan never talked to him.
He never got to talk to him. So I think the way they solved it is Wayne Carver is the key in this. And Jonathan was only supposedly charged with one count of phone harassment. John, it's a misdemeanor. The maximum fine is $500, and you spend a week picking up trash and get counseling. Now, he was arrested. Please write this down. May 20th, 2013. Now, look how long ago that was.
Yeah.
And to add to this, I don't know Jonathan Rice. Please, I want y'all to know this. I've never heard of him before. I mean, I've gotten to know him now. But when all of this unfolded, I saw a clip in the newspaper. It said, CBS News, Hartford, Connecticut, May 19th, 2013. Jonathan Rice arrested for making a threat to a public official. Now, how did they publish it on May 19th when he didn't get arrested till May 20th at 12:35 p.m. in the afternoon? Who knows all this stuff?
May 19th? And what's
I've actually sent it to your office so you can see the actual clip in the newspaper, CBS News, Hartford, Connecticut, and they actually announced it on the newscast that night that he was arrested for making threats to a public official.
But he wasn't actually arrested until when?
May 20th at 12:35 p.m. He turned himself in at the Avon, Connecticut Police Department with his dad. So how does CBS Sports, slap me upside my head.
That's right.
CBS News make that announcement?
Well, clearly they're part of the cover-up.
Now, that's what triggered Wolfgang into looking at Jonathan Rice. I don't know him, but I actually tried to figure out how to find him because I wanted to know how could that even be possible. So, John, when I got to know him, I looked at the Hartford Community Court docket. I wanted to be in the courtroom when he was in the courtroom with his attorney and his parents. So I looked at the docket, and John, 10 times I flew out of Orlando, Florida, nonstop to Hartford to be in the courtroom when he was on the docket. John, 10 times. I'm in the front row in the courtroom, and guess who is not showing up? Jonathan Rice. Why does he not show up? The state attorney canceled the docket at the last second, stating that the judge was too ill to see him. Now, do you know how much money I spent flying up there 10 times, up and back, spend the night? And 10 times he did not show up. Not because he didn't want to, because they canceled the docket. Now, here's the irony of it. I'm sitting in the front row. There are 100 people are going before a judge for misdemeanors. How is it that they're all being seen by a judge, but Jonathan Rice can't be seen by a judge? How? I don't understand it.
Oh, here's another thing I don't understand. I'm looking at hartfordcommunitycourt.com, and it's stated here, Assistant State's Attorney Thomas J. O'Brien orders removal of defendant's legal defense fund, civil rights violated. Jonathan Reich, a victim of court corruption at the Hartford Community Court, had his legal defense fund shut down by a corrupt prosecutor, Thomas J. O'Brien. And then you got another thing about Thomas J. O'Brien where he, there it is. Assistant State's Attorney Thomas J. O'Brien violently assaults defense attorney. Shoved him in court. Thelma. Let's see. Jamal T. Johnson, the attorney for Luis Anglero Jr., told Judge Thelma Santos that the prosecutor, Tom O'Brien, had shoved him in court. And this guy looks like a pretty rough customer, this Thomas J. O'Brien.
Well, let me tell you, I got to sit in the courtroom 10 different times and I watched him. Now, this guy, O'Brien, is a deal maker. It's like, let's make a deal, okay? The judge is not even in the courtroom and he's calling all of these people up who have been charged with a misdemeanor. He's playing deals. And then all of a sudden they're all gone and the judge comes in and everybody's almost gone. I mean, he is the deal maker. And here's the thing I want to come back to, what you just said.
Yeah.
One of the conditions that they put on Jonathan, they demanded that he immediately take down his donation website so he could have funds for his legal fund. This state attorney tells him, you're not allowed to have a website raising funds for your legal defense. Then the next condition he puts on him, you're never, ever allowed to talk to media about this case. Now, how is that even possible? See, that's where Jonathan got frustrated. I mean, you can't raise money and you never can ever talk about the media. And John said, I'm not going to do that. So.
And if you go to montefrank.com, M-O-N-T-E Frank.com,
right.
Guess what you get? Nothing. You get two dots. Both of them look like links because they're highlighted in blue. One of them says CGI-BIN / and the second one says readme.853432780, a whole bunch of letters and numbers. Looks like about 20 of them.
John, somebody is spending an enormous amount of taxpayers' money to stop us or Jonathan from I and you and your listeners to getting the truth. Now think how much money they're spending. And John, all they had to do when I first engaged in this, there are 16 simple questions. It had nothing to do with Lenny Posner, Noah Posner. It had nothing to do with the parents, nothing to do with children. 16 simple questions that deal with active shooter response. Now, what they did, they took those 16 questions and they attacked me, making me look like, I don't care, I'm insensitive, I'm a fraud, I'm only out to make money. See, they turned everything against me, but they refused to this day to answer the 16 questions or allow Jonathan to have his due. John, he hasn't had his due process. But the same time, this is a very, very important about justice in Connecticut. The same time, May 20th, when John turned himself in that same month, Governor Dan Malloy's son, Ben, same age as Jonathan, he commits armed robbery with a firearm. He's robbing a drug dealer. He's charged with firearm possession, 2 major felonies in the state of Connecticut. His bond is set at $2,500. Jonathan Reich is charged with 1 count misdemeanor phone harassment. His bail is $50,000. Now, how is that justice?
The Sandy Hook school has been destroyed. Is that correct?
Absolutely, completely gone.
And so where are you now on this, finding out where Trooper 1, the helicopter was, and the radio transmissions and all this other stuff that you asked them for? Is it just the same stonewall you've been getting?
Absolutely. Do you know, this is a question I've asked from the end of 2013 to now, and the Connecticut Freedom of Information Commissioners are refusing to allow me a hearing. Now think about it. This is such a simple request. Transmission, Connecticut State Trooper 1 helicopter for December 14, 2012. I've got the police reports transmission from Newtown Police. I've got the Connecticut State Police transmission. But in both of them, there is not one word about any one of these two talking the Trooper 1 helicopter. So, logically, please provide me a copy of Trooper 1's communication and transcript. They tell me it doesn't exist. See, where do I go with this? See, this is what they're doing. They're sticking it in our faces and basically telling all of us as Americans, what the hell are you going to do about it? You're nobody. Hey, we're the government. We do whatever we want. And look what they did with Jonathan Reich. When I talked to that attorney this morning, they've got him locked up for the next 90 days, and he doesn't even get bail. They won't even let him have bail. For misdemeanor? Come on.
Oh, man.
Now, there's a kid, think about it. That could be anybody's son or daughter, 24 years old. I would call him a genius because I got to meet him. He is so good with technology. That is a gifted young boy. And now they got him in Rikers Island, one of the worst prisons in New York.
They got Jonathan in Rikers?
Yes, they do.
Man, that is a bleep hole of a prison. That's a horrible place.
It's a death trap. You go into Rikers Island, and you're going to be lucky to get out without being cut or stabbed or somebody beating the living hell out of you. And now this is a smart-ass attorney, state attorney this morning. This guy says, well, he should have done what he was supposed to. He did. He picked up trash. He went to counseling. So why is he in Rikers Island?
Picked up trash and went to counseling?
He did exactly what was required. If you read Hartford Community Court, if you're sentenced there, he followed all of the policy. Whoa. And here's one that you can even call up, or your staff. Her name is Erin Field. She is a criminal attorney in Hartford, Connecticut. That is who I wanted to hire. I said, look, I got $5,000. I want Jonathan to have an attorney in Hartford Community Court. Remember, I've been up there 10 times?
Yep.
She said, Mr. Halbig, no disrespect to you, but when you're sentenced to community court, you don't need an attorney. I said, what do you mean? She says, well, they're all misdemeanors. They already know what they're going to do to you. You're going to pick up trash. You're going to get counseling. If you do those two things in a timely manner, they expunge your records. Well, why would you want to pay me when you don't need an attorney? And I said, you know what? Jonathan Reich and his family have paid Pullman and Comley, an attorney named Alan Sobel. They have paid them over $43,000 for Jonathan to have an attorney. And look at this. She said, what they're doing is criminal. And you know what? Nobody cares. Here I am.
Well, wait a second. Now, okay. So Jonathan did go to court, and he was determined to be guilty of this misdemeanor, and he was assigned community service and counseling.
No. Remember, when you go to court, the first thing that has to happen when you go to court is what? You either plead guilty or not guilty, right?
Yeah.
He was never asked to plead.
And who was the judge?
Judge Norco, Norko. And think about it. Do they only have one judge? Remember I told you I sat in the courtroom 10 different trips? I'm sitting in the front row. There's a judge in there. They're handling cases. And are you telling me that only Judge Norco can hear his misdemeanor offense? How is that even possible?
I don't know. Let me ask you this. Well, look, it seems to me just on the evidence that we have that this entire Sandy Hook school shooting was a fraud, and these people will stop at nothing to marginalize, neutralize any effort to expose it for what it was. I mean, there are photographs of Department of Homeland Security and all these people all over the place during this so-called, let's just call it an event. Nobody ever said, I've said this 100 times, but nobody ever released the information as to the identity of the guy that the cops caught in the woods, dressed like the alleged murderer, with the black hoodie and the camo pants. That video of him sitting in the front seat of a police car going, I didn't do it. That's vanished from YouTube. It's nowhere out there. The only thing that remains is some blonde-haired guy saying that a suspect walked past him and said to them as they were observing this, I didn't do it. But I remember seeing the guy sitting in the front seat of the police car looking at the TV camera and going, I didn't do it. So if that whole bunch up there is correct, what do we think Newtown is? I mean, is it a spook town? Is it some sort of a black ops town? I mean, what is that place anyway?
Well, I'm gonna tell you when I get back in about 6 months. I am not gonna tell him when I'm going. I did let the chief know that I'm coming up to live up there. I tell you, I'm gonna find those 26 children, and then by the end of that, I will know if it's a spook town. I think it's a CIA. I think it's a haven for witness protection. I'm going to tell you, it is a strange, and I think you can ask the people that you send up there to help me record.
Yeah.
It is a strange, strange town. And I need to see it for myself. I want the people to get to know me, and I want to get to know the community. And let me tell you, I have put everything that I have into this, and I'm simply going to look for 26 children. Why would you not tell me what their names are? John, they sang before 110 million people worldwide, 88,000 in the stands. They got a standing ovation for over 10 minutes after they sang. And you know what? To this date, as you and I are speaking in your caravanners, do you know they've never, ever been seen again? They've never, ever been heard from. They have never, ever been asked to come before the school board to be appreciated for a great job in trying to heal the community. Where are those 26 children? Are they dead?
You know,
I mean, are they part of child trafficking? How can they not ever be seen again?
Yeah. Well, no telling the way this certain elements in this government have run. They're liable to have wound up at one of Podesta's pizza parties.
Well, do you know what? And that's when I start seeing that now, that really raises concern. John, tell me, I have a hard time, I've got one granddaughter, fourth grader, but how do you silence 26 fourth grader? And when you read the emails from the NFL going to the school superintendent in Newtown, it clearly states that these children had a blast. They were with Beyonce. They were videotaped in a private area with Beyonce. They sang with Jennifer Hudson, Alicia Keys. Think about all the pro football players they met and all of their children and dignitaries. And 26 children have been silenced, that they can never, ever speak about the greatest day in their life. Now, see, that should rile up every parent or grandparent. These kids have been mentally damaged. You don't silence a child's greatest day. You allow them to talk about it. And the reason I bring that up as a big issue, the day of the shooting at Sandy Hook, how is it we got all kind of children on the television news? I mean, we got kids, hey, what was it like inside? I mean, we got kids all over television talking about what was it like, what it felt like. Well, how is it they can interview all of those children on the day of the shooting, but we don't get to hear one word from any of the 26 children, their parents, or even the chorus teacher?
Yeah, where is the massive class action lawsuit against you for messing with everybody's head and all that? But look,
I wish they would.
I mean,
oh, by the way, I'm in court on December the 13th at 9:15 a.m. against Lenny Posner and his law firm. They filed this huge lawsuit against me. Mm-hmm. So it's a mandatory hearing in civil court here in Lake County, Florida, where I live, because that's where he filed his lawsuit. And I cannot wait till December 13th. I'm going to bed early night just to get to the 13th.
Wolfgang, I think this might have gone over everybody's head. It went over mine for a minute, and then it circled back around like a boomerang. You're moving to Newtown?
Yeah, I am. My wife has agreed to allow me to go up and get to know the people, get to know the community. I want to visit the grave sites of the children and the teachers. I want to see Monsignor Wise, if he'll forgive me. I'm a Catholic, and they trespassed me at St. Rose Lima Church. I'm going to ask for forgiveness. I want to go to confession in St. Rose Lima Church. I want to be able to go to church on Sundays up there. I want to just get to know the people, and I want the people to get to know me. I am not a bad person. I spend my lifetime saving and helping people. I want them to see the Wolfgang that I am. And if it takes me, and I'm writing a book, I can't finish my book until I find those 20s. That's the reason I'm going. I can't finish my book until I see where those 26 kids are and who they are.
But let us not forget, you are fully prepared to admit that you were wrong and that everything was exactly as it was presented to everybody on television, and there is no conspiracy. I mean, all you have to do is you're just going to correct your attitude and just get along with everybody. Ask for forgiveness.
Absolutely. I'm going to go up there, and I'm going to extend my hand. I'll apologize if I did anything wrong, but I want to go up there because my book has to find, because that's an entire chapter on 26 children that sang at the Super Bowl. Because think of the enormous amount of money that was raised that came into Newtown. Think about it, from all over the world. People were grieving, they were heartbroken. Donations must have flowed in, but we've never heard about it. And the thing is, too, John, think about this. There were 3,500 news stations or news reporters inside the stadium during that Super Bowl, okay? Not one story, not one video was ever produced interviewing any of the children. Even their local news town didn't report it. Even the Hartford Courant didn't report it. Their news stations didn't report it. So I'm going to look for 26 kids. I'm going to forget the Sandy Hook children who died, but I want to find the 26 children who are living. That will answer all of my questions, and I'll disappear.
Look, this program, this particular episode is all about you. It's not about me. But I can tell you that for 25 years, I was inside the TV news apparatus, not just in Dallas, but in various news stations around, television stations around the country. And I saw what happened at Waco during the so-called live feed, because there it said, right there, 8 was up at the top, and down at the bottom it says live. Well, I had two questions. Number one, wow, what kind of a lens were you using to get that close to the SWAT guy going in through the window there at the Branch Davidian place?
Right.
And number two, if this is a live feed, why is this edited like this? And I mentioned something about that down around the the editing rooms and the recording rooms there at the station. And I mean, the response was very interesting. Everybody just kind of turned into a non-seeing, non-sensing, no feeling, no senses kind of zombie character. And after that, I mean, they did not appreciate the fact that I would even question. I said, "Hey, what's up with the live feed that was edited?" And I mean, you'd have thought I'd just stabbed them in the heart after I just shook their hand.
But that's who we are, though, John. We are a nation of people who are supposed to ask questions.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, we're supposed to ask questions when we have a feeling that something is not right. It's not trying to hurt anybody.
Man,
but
when I run into these people now, they literally put their hands over their face like, oh God, it's him. It's that horrible individual who asks questions. And this is what stuns me. I didn't mean to cut you off. Damn it, I did, but I didn't mean to. Well, look, my question is, why are you the only one doing this? Why are you the only one who is looking into this like this? I mean, I know you can't really answer the question, but it is a question. Nobody else wants to hook up with you to find out what really happened up there. And you say just to some random person at a coffee shop where the young people discuss politics, not. And you ask them, you know about Sandy Hook. Oh yeah. It's like, did you know nobody, there was nobody killed up there? And they're like, what? It's like the population. I think they're getting better. It's just taking too long because the Democratic Party's destroyed itself. The mainstream media has destroyed all of its credibility. All of it. Now last night on Fox News, they were running mentions of Obama saying, Fox News, Fox News, Fox News, Fox News. It's like, but he won't come on Fox News. He'll go on CNN, he'll go on these others, but he won't come on to Fox News. So The battle lines have been drawn. I'm not going to say the battle lines. The battle comes later. The line has been drawn between those people who really want to live in, they want to be immersed in truth, and the ones who want to remain in a complete state of denial and just blank out any unsavory fact, support and trust your government. Well, that's exactly what we were not supposed to do. We were never supposed to trust nor support our government, particularly if we could not trust them. How can you trust a government that you can't support? Answer, you can't. So, I don't get it. I don't understand why you're the only guy out there doing this. I don't understand why a well-known news site that's continuously ginning up fear porn, such as the latest thing about 15 electoral members are not going to vote for Trump and throw us into a constitutional crisis. Yeah, well, we'll see. This is the same outfit that was so sure that Hillary was going to steal the election. And since that didn't happen, now they're going to steal the election for sure. This particular news outlet, they won't have very much to do with you, will they? And you know who I'm talking about.
Yep. You know, they refuse to help me. I mean, God, John, if I didn't have you, I wouldn't be where we are today. I mean, and I'm so thankful that you and I got to know each other. And I'm amazed that, Breitbart, Drudge. I mean, there's all these people. Why are they afraid to simply help me find 2016? They won't even help me find the children who sang at the Super Bowl. Now, how can that be really disrespectful?
And now, one more time, I really want everybody to get this because people forget. They forget. And by the way, caravanners, let me please take a moment to ask you to donate to Wolfgang Halbig. It's expensive. You heard that over a misdemeanor charge, Jonathan Reich's family has spent over $43,000. It's expensive to make these plane trips and so forth. It's expensive to hire an attorney. I mean, you know how it is. Anybody that's been involved in any kind of a lawsuit, you know what it's going to cost you. It costs you a lot. So I implore you to send $1, $10, $5, $20, $100, whatever you got, and let's see this thing all the way through because, on February the 3rd, we will have completed 3 years of Caravan to Midnight. And I said at the beginning, we're going to talk about this until there's nothing more to talk about. Wolfgang, do you know I did not see any mention whatsoever on it. Maybe there was one, but I didn't see it. And I stare at this computer screen for hour upon hour every day looking for stuff. I didn't see any mention of the 53rd anniversary of the assassination of JFK the other Tuesday. Didn't see a thing about it.
You know what? Now, that is really strange.
Don't you think?
It just disappeared. He's a legend.
Well, maybe it's because they're afraid Mr. Trump, when he takes office, may decide that those files need to be opened up. Look, folks, when you tell the truth about things, you're really going out on the clothesline. As long as you support the popular lie, the popular myth, you're fine. You're not a threat. The moment that you open your mouth that has anything to do with truthfulness, you've just made a problem for yourself. Let me put it to you this way. Look what they did to Jesus. He didn't harm anybody. Never stole anything, never lied, never did anything wrong. All he did was help people. Now, for the people who do not believe in Jesus at all, first of all, I feel badly for you. But number two, think about it. He didn't do anything wrong to these people, even Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate was a badass. He would cut your head off and spill your guts out as easily as you would shoo a fly away. And he just went, I don't have a problem with him. I washed my hands of this completely. He kind of sensed that something was up. But he could have said, yeah, you know what, you're a troublemaker, you're over with. But he didn't do it.
And you remember what Jesus said on the cross? He looked at his Father and he said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do.
That's it.
Now think about it. Father, forgive them. And you know what? And basically that's what I want to say to our government. You know that? I forgive you, but don't hurt people. Don't inflict emotional distress. Don't create panic and fear because you have your own agenda.
Tell us a little bit about the other 26 children that went up to New York.
Well, and I think about this. The New York Yankees invited 26 children from supposedly Sandy Hook to sing at Yankee Stadium. Now, why would you not send the same 26 children to sing at Yankee Stadium? Why are there 26 brand new kids that nobody even knows about?
Well, that's a really good question, unless they're just recycling children, which of
Well,
course
you know,
is
and that worries me. Is Newtown child trafficking? You know, I sent out a video this morning of a parent named Bosick and his wife. You know, on ABC News, on a Sunday morning show, this father is choking his little girl, and she's trying to get his hand off of her neck so she can breathe. And you know what? Nobody even raised the question about that. I worry about Sandy Hook, child trafficking. How can you be that cruel to children? And again, if these kids were so good to sing at the Super Bowl, why would they not sing at a Christmas concert? Why would we not ever hear from them again? How do they go silent? It's like somebody buried them. It's somebody shipped them overseas. Where are the parents?
Now, what's this about somebody with their hand around the kid's throat?
Oh, listen, I'm going to send you a clip. I can't remember. Remember the guy who did the debate between Hillary, the last one, the moderator, ABC moderator. No, he now works for Fox News. He interviewed this father named Wasick and his wife, and in the interview, he has his hands around the neck of his daughter.
That's just weird.
He's almost choking her. Now, this is a little girl who was interviewed on the day of the shooting, but now he's trying to silence her, and he's almost choking her. And she's grabbing his hand, trying to pull it off. And the wife, you can see the wife grabbing his arm. It's like they were afraid that she was going to say something. On national news, that's what I would call child abuse. And nobody has raised the issue.
I don't get any of this.
Well, the thing that I got to go back to, and I'm going to leave this alone for a while. Think about it. You're in the news business. You have 3,500 journalists from all over the world in the stadium. Now, these kids have been there. Remember, now they arrived on January the 31st. They left on February the 4th. So these kids have been in and around New Orleans. They've been in the stadium. They sang in the stadium. And you're telling me out of 3,500 reporters, there's not one great story about how they helped heal the community and what a great job they did, or what was it like to meet Beyonce? And I mean, no positive story whatsoever. That's impossible.
Yeah, you know, I go back to this analogy that I use frequently. If you can't get a joint through the airport, how do you get 10 metric tons of heroin through the airport? Yeah. Answer: inside help, right? So, yeah, I remember the Lufthansa ripoff up in New York years ago in the 70s. $2-4 million. The good movie Goodfellas was based on it, right?
Yep.
Inside help again. Of course, that inside help wound up in the dumpster over there, but I digress. So I'm wondering, you know, Wolfgang, when you start screwing around with the CIA and agencies like that, that's some real trouble. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is. Well, but you've got to go back, and I think the caravanners who are coming and joining you and subscribing, they may have forgotten. I wouldn't even be in this if they didn't send 2 homicide investigators right before Christmas to my house. And they told me if I did not stop asking questions about Sandy Hook, I would go to jail. Now, look at this. I haven't stopped asking questions, but look who they put in jail. Jonathan Reich, for questioning Dr. Wayne Carver.
Mm-hmm. Which he never got to do.
Which he never, ever got to do. And you got to remember, once you go into that courtroom at Hartford Community Court, What is the law? What does our Constitution? You have a right to face your accuser.
That's right.
You have a right to take a deposition of your accuser. He was denied every one of his legal opportunities. He's allowed to get discovery documents. They've refused to give him any discovery documents. And now he sits in Rikers Island with no money. He's 25, he's going to be 25, no money. They had to give him a public defender because no attorneys got the balls to go pro bono in helping this young man. He's done nothing wrong but ask questions. He's in Rikers Island for 90 days. What if that was your son? Would we not want to fight for somebody else's child who's being discriminated against and every one of his constitutional rights are violated? We're supposed to help each other. We're people. We're supposed to care about each other. Damn.
So let me ask you this: so you're going to go up there, and what sort of attorney action, court action, or any of those things that require money and funding? What sorts of things are coming up? You got this thing with Posner, right?
Well, this is a huge, huge lawsuit, and I think come December 13th at 9:15 a.m., I think I can call you the next day and tell you this is really huge because it allows me to depose Lenny Posner. It allows me to have discovery. I'm going to find out what name he really uses. See, this man's got 6, 7, 8 different names. He's got 25 different addresses that he lives at. And I'm gonna find out. I think this is our best opportunity to interview a parent who's accusing me of fraud. And I have a lawsuit in Seminole County. We're filing in federal court. I've got, FOIA commission. These people are so crooked in Connecticut, in Hartford, Connecticut. These FOIA commissioners, they have violated every rule and principle of the law of FOIA. I mean, think about it. I've asked for the helicopter transcript. They refused to give me that. I request the parents' parental permission form for all these kids to go on the field trip to the Super Bowl. They refused to give me that. Everything how about the check-in law? Remember that big old traffic sign? Everyone must check in. I requested under public records a copy of that check-in log. Guess what? No records can be found. See, that's what they do to you. They say no records can be found, and I've seen this over and over, and then it requires you to hire an attorney. They have to file an appeal, because if you do it by yourself, they'll deny it. I've been doing this for 4 years, and that's what makes me even stronger. The more you deny me, the stronger I get. And I pray to God that all your caravanners will fight this fight with you, with me, because guess what? It is our country. It doesn't belong to them.
I do. I call upon the power of the caravanners to let's fund this thing. Let's do it.
Like I said, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without the caravanners. They shut down my GoFundMe page. They shut down my PayPal. These people have the power. And I've been threatened. I was given I'll send it to you. The email. It said, if I don't shut down my Facebook, if I don't shut down my Twitter, if I don't do these things by a certain date, my family members will suffer dire consequences.
Who said that?
It's an email. I'll send it to you. But what they do, they're using fake names. Gmail, they got a fake name. Sure. This is our demand. And guess what it says? Oh, you're going to love this. I need to send it to you. It's coming your way.
Okay.
The last sentence, do not ever return to Newtown, Connecticut again. Now, what did we talk about on your show today?
Returning to Newtown.
I'm returning to Newtown. I think that's going to call I'm going to name that my book, Returning to Newtown. It says, do not ever return to Newtown, Connecticut again, or your family will suffer dire. And I'm going to send it to you so your listeners can see it.
Please do. All right. Well, I say it again. Come on, let's toss a few shekels Wolfgang's way. Let's do it. I say again, $1, $5, 10, 20, whatever you got. Let's do it so he can keep fighting this thing. He's the only one who's doing it. We are the only organization. I'm not. The organization is not me. The organization is us. We're the only ones that are doing anything. The only ones. The well-known news site I just mentioned won't even talk to him, let alone contribute anything to him. So I guess it's up to us. It's
John,
always been this way.
One more thing, and we filed, I haven't said this to anybody yet, but in New York, we have filed a $150 million lawsuit. It's active. It's going before a judge, and it is $150 million against the Patch newspaper and a bunch of other people that are connected with this violation of civil rights. And it is a heck of a lawsuit. And Jonathan and I are doing this together. And the money, if there is money to be recovered, I have saved every envelope from every donor. And our highest priority is to pay that money back. You're investing. You're going to get your money back if we win in court. Listen, we're not here to make money. We're here to fight this fight. And it's a huge lawsuit, and I'll be glad if anybody wants the copy of it, I'll email it to you. And again, John, you can give him my email address, you can give him my phone number. I'm an open book.
Yeah, you are. I'll tell you what. You're an ex-state trooper. You're a
John, it's 150, and I'm going to tell you what, the attorneys that we hired, that's why I told you I was running out of money. The attorneys that we hired said, Wolfgang, let me tell you, I don't know how they will ever, if this goes into a federal court and it gets in front of these juries, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, well, you may be new. We have people joining the caravan all the time. So, but ex-state trooper, Florida state trooper, school safety expert, lectured all over the place. You know, this is, and of German descent. So you're kind of one of the last guys that anybody would seriously want to mess with, and they just keep doing it. So what can you say about this Posner case that you can say without saying anything that you shouldn't say?
Well, the Posner case is basically him filing this huge civil lawsuit here in my community, and I think it's just another one, stick it in my face. He's claiming that I've inflicted emotional distress on him and his family members, that I've destroyed his business, his company, that I did a character assassination on him, and he wants the court, to have a trial and me pay X number of dollars. I don't know. I just don't see where he's going with it, because you know what? I've never even attacked the guy.
Are they going to let you bring that picture into court that has Noah on the poster over there in Afghanistan or Pakistan or somewhere? Pakistan.
I've got everything that I need for December 13th right here on my desk, and I cannot wait, because it's time to be in front of a judge, not the Connecticut FOIA hearing. These are crooked people in Connecticut. This is a circuit judge in a courtroom, and I even hired a stenographer to make sure we don't miss a word.
One last thing. U.S. Marshals and Jonathan Reich.
Yeah, they stormed his house on the 21st of this month, 5 of them, 5:40 a.m. in the morning. And I want you to picture this. They shackled him, handcuffed him in front of these little sisters he has. They woke him out of bed, and they dragged him out of the house, and we've got it on video. I got the outside videos. I mean, and when the parents asked, can we get a copy of this, they said, hell no, we don't have to give you nothing. And they were as rude as could be. They dragged him out and took him to Rikers Island. Now, is that the America? Is that how we talk to each other? And what did Jonathan really do? Misdemeanor phone harassment that should have been taken care of in 2013. And here we are, 2016, and he's in Rikers Island for 90 days. What kind of government does that to people?
This government does it to people.
Power.
Well, this government does it to people.
Here's another one. I got to say this to you. 3 months ago, because Jonathan drives his car in New York, and I said, Jonathan, make sure, because remember they got an arrest warrant out for you in Connecticut. Make sure that nothing happens to you in New York. So I called the NYPD, the 107th precinct, the 109th precinct. I said, is there an outstanding warrant for a Jonathan Reich in Queens, New York? Absolutely not. John, there is no warrant for Jonathan Reich in New York. How do they get the United States Marshal Services to do that?
This looks like this looks like good old Gestapo stuff, doesn't it?
It's scary. Let me tell you what, it is scary.
Yeah. All right. Well.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for coming on. Stay safe, and I'll ask the caravanners to help in every way that they can. You'll certainly be getting something from us. I don't mean caravan money, from my money. I repeat, I've still got a fairly successful voiceover career.
God, I thank God every day that I've met you and your station and your listeners. I'm telling you, I am so grateful, and hopefully one day I can repay this kindness, okay?
Listen, you win this stuff, you bring these mugs to justice, that's all the repayment that I need, and I'm pretty sure the caravanners agree. So stay safe out there. God bless. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, sir.
And listen, if anything happens, anything, I don't care if it's 3 a.m., ring me, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I will.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow. So how about that? What do you think? He's the only one out there doing it. And he's going back to Newtown because they came to his home and said, if you don't stop asking questions, they're going to arrest you. Really. And that's how we do things in this country. Okay. This one is a big one. If this domino falls, and I predict it will, all the other dominoes will surely follow. About this, this problem up in Dakota. And it's over a pipeline. Over the last few weeks, I've heard all kinds of things about what's happening to the Sioux, specifically the Lakota Sioux Standing Rock tribe. I mean, I'm hearing everything from rubber bullets to dog cages and everything in between. It appears this is another, I really don't want to get too far ahead of the story, and I don't want to, put some sort of a whammy on it, but this is beginning to look a little bit like a potential wounded knee if things spin any further out of control. But I'm not on the ground there. However, two gentlemen are. James Martinez, a media ecologist and radio talk show host and pioneer in radio broadcasting and behavior modification, is with us, along with Wesley Clark Jr. You may recall General Wesley Clark was going to make a run for the presidency some years ago. Well, his son is with us now, and they are both, Mr. Martinez and Mr. Clark, are both on the ground up there in Dakota. So let's just bring them on and find out what's going on. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. It's good to have you.
Thank you. How you doing? Real quick, though I'm not on the ground yet, I am en route.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I appreciate your clarification. What, James, you're already there, yeah?
No, I'm en route too.
Okay, you're both en route.
Both en route, yeah.
Okay. Well, without actually being there and seeing it like in 3 dimensions and all, what's the situation there as you understand it?
You want to go, or you want me to talk? All right. Well, the situation as I understand it, I kind of followed it on independent media and Twitter and Facebook and stuff, starting in, I don't know, probably August or September. And James had called me around the end of September, and he said, "Hey man, I knew Russell Means, and he says we got to get in touch with you and get vets to help." And I was like, "What? Who's this guy? And who's Russell Means? And who are these? What are the specifics of this?" And then he put me on the phone with a tribal elder, a woman by the name of Phyllis Young, and she described how, Morton County Sheriff and private mercenary companies had attacked women and children with dogs and had them bitten, and how old ladies praying were being beaten up and had stun guns used on them and hit with truncheons and dragged away, and they were putting people in dog kennel cages to hold them. And I've heard they've been hooding people. Even got reports that there was a native vet a couple weeks ago that got captured by some of these mercenaries and was waterboarded. And when she talked to me that time, and I'll be honest with you, man, I've been a agnostic at best in my adult life. And but when she was talking to me, like I grew up Catholic, and I just remember sitting in church and hearing, you know, from the gospel that how you treat the least of my brothers is how you treat me. And it started to light just like a fire in me. And I did everything I could to look into it. I mean, you know, the specifics of it are pretty simple. You know, the pipeline is supposed to be transporting oil from the back in oil fields down south. And the people of Bismarck didn't want it going near their city. So they figured, oh, well, we'll just have it go through the Indian reservation. And of course, you know, the Standing Rock tribe didn't take part in any of this, in any of the decision making. They didn't show up to stuff, meetings that were held and other things. So they never gave their consent for this to happen. And then they went out and they started bulldozing, you know, people's graves and sacred sites. And they're going to put a pipeline under the river and across the river. And look, man, when you think about, for me, I mean, this is beyond, you know, the constitutional problems here, because we signed a treaty with the Sioux, as we have with many other tribal nations, and we have continued to break those treaties. And those treaties are law under the Constitution. And we have run roughshod over these people for generations. But for me, the other fear is that, you know what the Ogallala Aquifer is?
I do not.
Well, the Ogallala Aquifer is when people sink a pipe down into the ground to get irrigation water, you know, under the breadbasket of the United States and Nebraska and Kansas and all these areas. This is all coming from the Ogallala Aquifer. And that's a non-replenishable aquifer that is going to run out of water in 2023. So what's going to be worth more money by the time they're done building this? Water or oil?
I'm thinking water.
Is going to be water.
Oh, yeah.
And I grew up in the service, and then I served as an Army officer. I went to the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown. And I can put an overlay on any map in the world where there's water shortages, and you're going to see violence, political violence. And all these other issues we got in the country, they're all kind of tied together with this stuff. But imagine what's going to happen, because you got a long-term drought in California, which is, you know, the Central Valley was some of the most productive agricultural land we had till the drought struck. And then you're going to have no irrigation water in the Midwest. And you're suffering from a drought in the Southwest. And the city of Atlanta nearly ran out of water just, what was that, a year, 2 years ago? Water is something we need to take care of. Because, look, man, we can live without money and we can live without oil, but we cannot live without water.
Well, most people don't know.
That river provides water for 19 million people.
Yeah, and the water that we have on this planet is all the water that we're ever going to have. The water that we see coming, yeah, I mean, that's it. They're not making any more of it. What we have is what we have, and that's it. And I don't think people have really taken that thought to heart, because you can desalinate all you want, but guess what? The water goes up to the clouds through evaporation, and then it comes back down in the form of rain. But you're not getting any more. It's impossible. And so
I know.
So wow.
And you know, when you think about, and a lot of the reason, you know, look, I'm a regular dude. All right, I do what I can to make a living, and I don't live fat or anything like that. And God knows I'm not important. I don't have any position or anything, but you know, when I think about all these issues, and, you know, for me as a white guy who lives out in California, I'm not that close to the land. So we don't notice it as much in our cities because, you know, look, most Americans, they get up in the morning, they got to rush to work, they got to make their kids breakfast, and then they got to pack a lunch for them for school. They're in traffic on the way to the office. They're sitting in the office. They come home. They got to pick up the kids. They got to make dinner. And, then most people sit around. They watch 4 hours of murder on television at night, but they're not really in contact with the land. And they're not seeing the changes that are going on and that are accelerating right now. But I'll tell you what, Native Americans see it because they're living on that land. And they're seeing how fast stuff is changing. And it's got them really worried. And they should be worried about it. And we should be worried about it. Beyond the fact that, look, man, these people are Americans. I've served with Native vets. Native vets have served higher than any other percentage of Americans. And they're great soldiers. And they helped pull our chestnuts out of the fire in World War II with code talkers from multiple tribes. And we owe these people. We owe these people respect. We, owe these people, to take care of the land. Because, look, man, we can't go anywhere else. My family came over, part of them came over on the Mayflower, and different groups came over in the 19th century, but we don't have any contact in Europe with any relatives. There's no one left back there. This is it. This is where we live. And if we don't learn to start taking care of it, God help our kids.
Yeah, you got a point there. It's I see a few websites up here that have to do with Standing Rock, and one of the captions is the Constitution's Article 6 declares treaties to be the supreme law of the land. So, I guess we can wring our hands and tear at our hair a little bit over this, because I'm looking at a photograph that's pretty rough. Why the rule of law is a powerful idea for Standing Rock. Although the governor cites the rule of law in his eviction order, the Sioux have this. The Constitution.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
That governor is on the payroll of somebody.
Yeah.
And there's no question about it. Look, just in the eviction order itself, he said, listen, winter's coming, so, it's not safe, so we got to evict you. And he says he wants to evict them in the middle of a blizzard in a camp they've already winterized, and he wants to do it on Custer's birthday? Come on, man.
That seems a little...
It's dishonest. And that governor is a liar, and he's dishonest, and he's on someone's payroll.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. And that's the way a lot of our governors are, and it's the way a lot of our elected representatives are.
Well, they
don't care about what's right and wrong and taking care of the average person. And this guy, beyond that, he tried to threaten us. He tried to get stores not to sell supplies to veterans who are coming out there. He threatened to close off access to the reservation, which is itself a violation of the treaties. But most importantly, he tried to prevent freedom of speech and assembly for American veterans in a time of peace to go to a place in order to protect the business interest of 5 or 6 billionaires who already have plenty of money. And they've hired private security forces. Let me give you an example. I had a guy out there, because we've already got people on the ground. We've already got a couple hundred on the ground so far. And they went out and they're doing recon and everything else around that bridge, which, by the way, that bridge should be open, because with that bridge sealed off, it gives causes an extra 3 hours for people to be able to make it to emergency services. So it endangers the lives of people who live on that reservation. And he went out to the bridge and they shined a flashlight across the bridge. And you know what happened? The private security, I don't know if it was private security or Morton County sheriffs, yelled across the bridge and said, "You better turn that flashlight off or I will light you up." Think about those words. A flashlight. A member of our group was threatened with murder by either a mercenary or what is supposedly an officer of the law for literally shining a light on the situation.
You keep using that word mercenary. Who is it? It's not Kraft again, is it?
Oh, it's Tiger something or other. They're Tiger Swan or something like that. I think they're out of Georgia.
Gotcha.
They're private security contractors. And what these people don't understand is, look, I understand a lot of them are vets. A lot of us are vets. Actually, all of us are vets, but we do have some civilians helping us. But, we're doing this for no pay. We ain't doing it for money, and we're not doing it to hurt anybody. So if someone's doing a job for money to hurt people, I got a problem with that. I got a moral problem with that.
Yeah, you should.
You know, we all join the service to help people, to do good. And I know a lot of folks feel like we haven't been doing a lot of good lately. But that's why we join, not to hurt people, not to kill people, not to destroy things. We did it to protect the United States, and we all took that oath.
Well,
to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Amen.
Well,
Amen.
You know, this is pretty weird because I'm looking at this thing called yesmagazine.org, and it says, as written by Mark Trahant, on Monday, using a snowstorm as an excuse, the governor dipped into his legal tools and called on the most powerful words in his arsenal. Jack Dalrymple, governor of the state of North Dakota, order a mandatory evacuation of all persons located in the areas under the proprietary jurisdiction of the United States Army Corps of Engineers located in Morton County. The rule of law. The governor issued this proclamation knowing full well that none of the people at that camp will leave after his lofty proclamation. He knows that in order to enforce the rule of law, there will have to be a massive law enforcement action where hundreds of people are rounded up and incarcerated. And the word from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and its allies is as expected. This state executive order is a menacing action meant to cause fear and is a blatant attempt by the state and local officials to usurp and circumvent federal authority. The USACE has clearly stated that it does not intend to forcibly remove campers from federal property. Now, that's Chairman Dave Archambault II in a news release. He says doesn't intend to forcibly remove campers from federal property. The government cites harsh weather conditions and the threat to human life. But he also goes on to say, as I have stated previously, the most dangerous thing we can do is force well-situated campers from their shelters and into the cold. If the true concern is for public safety, then the governor should clear the blockade and the county law enforcement should cease all use of flash grenades, high-pressure water cannons in freezing temperatures, dog kennels for temporary human jails, and any harmful weaponry against human beings. I mean, I can't believe that I just read that.
Yeah, listen,
well,
my
I
guys,
did.
when they went out there on their recon,
Yep.
they picked up all the shrapnel. They're using concussion grenades against people. That poor girl last week who nearly got her arm blown completely off had a concussion grenade thrown at her. And let me tell you, I've talked to people out there, and yeah, man, the native folks are pissed off. But this is all being led by, like, old ladies praying. So these people are beating up people. They're fabricating evidence. It is the worst situation I've ever seen. It's like they are treating Americans as an enemy. And it also makes me go back and you know, look, I've been right in my life. I've been left in my life. But frankly, I used to laugh and scoff at people that would say this kind of stuff, you know, when Obama was president. But yeah, man, that guy is not following the Constitution. He's not willing to put his sack on the line when it comes to enforcing the Constitution. And we are living in a, you know, what is becoming a police state. I can tell you, my grandparents wouldn't have put up with living under conditions we live under now, where people are scared to meet and they're scared about what they say. And there's just too much damn fear in this country.
Yeah, well, I've got my own opinions about Barack Obama and his whole Democrat crew. And that would be, I think he is an illegitimate president to start with. Can I use the B word? Yeah, I think he's just a lying bastard. Nothing that he's ever said has come to fruition, with the sole exception of his intention to fundamentally transform America. However, that said, this isn't the first time that the force of the state has been used against citizens unrighteously, and I suspect it won't be the last. But now let me ask you about these vets that are set to converge on the area. What's up with that? How many of them do we expect? Where are they coming from? From everywhere, or what?
They're coming from everywhere. We told people to stop when we reach 2,000. I think there's probably going to be about 2,400 of us up there right now. We've got another 500 that are going to be a follow-on force. and we're probably going to maintain a permanent presence up at that camp of a few hundred vets at any time until this is over and until, the Constitution is respected. Because what generally happens in these situations is, and I'm sure what the Morton County Sheriff and the governor of North Dakota thinks is, as soon as they go home, then we'll go beat those people up. That ain't going to happen, man. Because if they do that, we'll be back there with 50,000 vets. Because people in this country care. I know the elite don't care. I know the media doesn't care. I've been calling them for months trying to get them out there. I've been calling for months for representatives of Congress. Nobody cares. They're like, what? We got more important stuff to do. This affects people's lives. This puts people in danger. It puts our freedom in danger. It puts our planet in danger. It puts our kids' futures in danger. And, on Barack Obama, I'll tell you something. I used to laugh at people who said this, but I honestly do believe the guy was a false prophet. Coming in talking about peace and harmony and how everyone was going to be doing better and living better. And you look the last couple of years, the country's never been more divided. People aren't living better. More money's going to people at the top, and those people don't do the work. I mean, listen, I haven't just been an Army officer. I mean, I made the bad mistake in my life to become a writer, which meant I seldom had any money at all. So I did all kinds of odd jobs to pay the bills and feed myself, from temping to tutoring to everything else. So the people who do the work, like let's say someone's a temp, they get paid like $8.50 an hour. But the company who's hired that temp is paying him $60 to the company. So what happened to that other, $52? Who does that go to? It's not going to the person doing the work. Same thing with Uber drivers. Same thing with all this stuff. We're just getting robbed on a daily basis, and we just sit back and take it because everybody's so scared to protect what they got. And I got to tell you, I ain't scared of anybody.
Let me ask you something.
And I don't have a gun. I ain't going to fight anybody. But, for me personally, I've given my life over to Christ, and I'm going to go exactly where he tells me to do, and I'm going to follow his example in everything.
Wow. It'd be pretty easy for somebody to come up with this question, which is, it seems to me like General Clark might have a little pull somewhere up there to get some sort of attention on somebody.
He doesn't. I mean, look, he was in politics. He's in business. No matter what you say, people smear you on stuff.
Yeah.
And frankly, I mean, look, he doesn't want me to be doing this. He said, I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. I could get killed out there. You know what? I don't care if I get killed out there. Doesn't matter, because I'm doing the right thing. And I know if I get killed out there, then, I'll get to hang out and, hear people play music for God. Be perfectly happy.
Wow. I'll tell you what, man. I'm just going to have to pause on that one for a minute because that's pretty strong stuff. It's about as strong as it gets. All right.
Yeah, but think about it, though, John. Think about how many of us who are veterans risked our lives for so much less than this. I mean, look, the Vietnam War was basically about protecting rice imports for Japan. Is that worth all those American lives? These wars we fought in the Middle East. I mean, we're not even getting oil out. We get nothing out of it. There's no strategic plan. There's no end goal. There's no where do we go from here? Why are we doing this? And yet plenty of people have been willing to go over and lose an arm or a leg and watch their friends get killed. For what? Not for us. Not for the average American. That's for sure.
How long has this been going on? How long has this standoff or whatever it is, this threat? How long has this threat been hanging over the Sioux?
Well, I think it started about in April or May when they bulldozed some graves and some kids went out and put themselves in front of the bulldozer. But it's continually escalated since then.
Okay. And whose jurisdiction is that land under? Federal or state?
Well, James, you want to answer that? Because I haven't let you speak enough, bro.
Well, no, I'm here to support everything that's going on here, and the Standing Rock is a sovereign nation. Okay, that was set up a long time ago. Phyllis Young and Russell Means were key in setting up the Dakota Standing Rock as a sovereign nation. Now, the thing that makes Standing Rock unique is all the other treaties have been violated. All of them. Every single one of them that they ever had with the United States has been violated. Fort Laramie and the treaty that Standing Rock is under, that one was the one that was still standing until this started. Because you got to understand, there's a major, major betrayal that's happened here beyond, I can't even believe it myself. Not only did they desecrate their lands and violate the most important treaty that Standing Rock has against the Lakota Sioux, we had the President of the United States many years ago go to Standing Rock, visit with people at Standing Rock, make promises with young students and teenagers saying, I will protect your rights. I will see to it that your lands will not be violated. I will see to it. I will see to it. And now you've got videos of teenage American Indians asking, I thought you were my friend. Please help us. They're hurting us. Why are you not responding? So the Fort Laramie trial, that treaty itself, that was the last vestiges of true freedom that made Standing Rock really unique, because that one had not been violated. Now it has been violated, and it's been violated by international banking cartels and oil and people sitting behind desks all over the world ignoring the situation. And that is not an understatement when I say ignoring. You had Hillary ignore it. You had Trump ignore it. You had the White House.
You had Hillary do worse than ignore it, man. People approached her during the campaign to talk about it, and she told them to get a life. Think about that. Get a life. That was her response to it. No wonder she lost the election. Neither she nor Obama have demonstrated an ounce of moral courage in this. Obama's waiting until things reach a fever pitch before he does anything, if he does anything.
So the
guess
situation
is he won't do a thing.
No. So the situation, John, and everybody that's listening, is unique for the entire country and the world, what's happened there, because the world is watching how the United States and its chain of command, all the way up to the commander-in-chief, has treated these people that were the part of the framers of our Constitution of the United States. They've fought in our wars. They've been under genocide. They've been tortured. They've been publicly humiliated before the entire world. And nothing has been done thus far to protect them and back off. We've got a big, huge problem, and I might add, a great opportunity to bring everybody together, because the people that I've heard that are on the ground there said spirit of that place is unlike anywhere in the world right now, because there's people coming in, as far as I know, from Costa Rica and other countries to be there that are our vets, because I heard about it.
Yeah.
And the spirit of this place there, and there's 24-hour prayer groups that are going on there. It's a free society there. Everybody is helping everybody on the ground there. There's nothing like this going on anywhere else in the world. Period. It's a unique situation. It is what the many of the American Indians knew that this is in their prophecy. This whole event that's happening.
Yeah.
And when I was lucky enough to be introduced to Wes from somebody I know in Washington, I got to tell you, this is the first white guy I've met that got it and understood it right from the beginning. Right from the beginning, it was like destiny for him to step up and do this. So this is a unique situation in history, and I know something great is going to come out of it, because the world is going to hear. They're going to hear what's really going on here, and then something even bigger is going to get ready to happen.
Yeah, let me toss something in here real quick. For there may be some people out on the caravan line that are rolling their eyes, going, "Okay, we get it," but let me read this little thing here. It's from Nick Stockton. He wrote it for the science department there at Wired.com. But take a listen to this. This is like insane, and it won't take long. So just hold your position, gentlemen. The protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline at the Standing Rock Indian Reservation, North Dakota, are on the surface about water quality. The pipeline's planned route, which closely mirrors the path of the would-be Keystone XL pipeline, goes right through the tribe's water source. And like Keystone XL, which President Obama vetoed this past February, the Dakota Access Pipeline has taken on larger significance as a conduit for worsened global climate change. There is no question as to whether the protest, if successful, would protect the tribe's water. No pipe, no possibility of a spill. But do protests like these significantly lessen the impact of global climate change? One way, maybe the only way, to know is to look at how protests affect the price of oil. Here's a quote. We have to look at if it is impacting the industry and potentially discouraging or constraining their profits so they have less incentive to produce oil, says Lauren Stockman, research director for Oil Change International, a nonprofit that tracks fossil fuel economics. Fossil fuels are great energy sources because they are cheap and transportable and storable. But let's focus on the cheap. If fossil fuels get more expensive, things like electronic vehicles and renewable energy sources become more attractive to investors and consumers. Then, theoretically, the market goes green. Economics are way more complicated than that, but I'm going to keep this 101 level. First thing to consider is the Dakota Access Pipeline's cost, $3.8 billion to connect the Bakken oil fields in North Dakota to another pipeline leading to refineries on the Gulf Coast in Dakota, Illinois. I mean, moving oil makes money, but the Dakota Access Pipeline was built on promises and can only move oil if it delivers. It's like, what are these people even I mean, I'm perfectly ready to admit that I'm a moron, but it's like, really, we're talking about pushing something like this through to... So is this writer saying that if the pipeline doesn't go through, it'll make the price of oil go up, and therefore there'll be more interest in green vehicles and renewable energy, which of course there's no such thing. So I don't even understand what Casey's making here. Go ahead.
There's, you know, and listen, I'm not a rocket scientist either.
Well, clearly I'm not either.
The thing is, when you look at these issues and you look at the impact of oil, what oil is you have to put an investment down to drill your well, okay?
Yeah.
But once you've drilled it, it's just putting up pure money to the owner of it. And they're sucking out the resources from it. But if you talk about like, oh, we got to transition to green, I mean, look, we do have to transition to something cleaner or our kids are going to die. But I will tell you the prices, I mean, I could build a 200 megawatt solar farm that I could be profitable at selling that energy at 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour. And that's a radical difference from where it was just 8 years ago. I mean, 8 years ago, it would have been like 23 cents a kilowatt hour. Wind, I think, is still going at like 16 or 17 cents. So it's not a question of how much does it cost. It's a question of keeping the money in oil. You know, when we went off the gold standard, we created something called the petrodollar. So the value of the dollar is intricately tied to oil. So you have like an intersection between banking and oil, which is why we have to constantly waste our resources to protect the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because this is all tied in together. None of these things exist isolated. They all reinforce each other. And it's a system that is going to come apart at the seams eventually. So we might as well try and fix it as soon as we can, because oil keeps us vulnerable. Oil keeps us reliant on other people. Oil keeps us reliant on something that's going to destroy the planet and further increase the wealth and power of a few versus everybody else.
Well, I agree with you.
And you know, if you look at the history of the United States and what we've done, I mean, look, our whole problem with Iran was caused by the oil industry, because they said, oh, the Iranians they actually want to own their own oil in their own country. So we did a coup against their president. We've killed leaders of countries for this stuff. We've killed politicians in countries for this stuff. So these industries are not friends of democracy. They are not friends of the Constitution. They are not friends of the Bill of Rights. All they care about is their own money, which just blows my mind when you think these people are billionaires and they still feel they don't have enough. I mean, how much is enough?
Well, So
and if you want to go deeper into this, look, what I believe, because I've grown up all over this country. I grew up in Kansas and Colorado and the Mojave Desert and, outside D.C. And my dad's from Arkansas, like, middle of nowhere. And my mom is from Brooklyn. So I kind of know this country. And look, people who voted for Trump were not voting for racism. There's probably a few that were, but I don't think most of them were. They're voting because they know they're getting screwed. And they just want to change this system and stop getting screwed. Because what they don't understand is they themselves, as white people, are living under colonialism.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
What happens is all the jobs, all the businesses have disappeared from the Midwest. And all the money flows into New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and, of course, into taxes in Washington, D.C. So that the local people who live in individual states, they don't get a choice in this stuff. And, I'm not a lawyer, but these companies and these people have incredibly powerful legal teams, and they know how to rig the system. And they've been doing it for decades.
This is really weird. On October 10th, this is out of blastingnews.com. On October 10th, Indigenous Peoples Day, a series of well-known protests began after the U.S. Court of Appeals denied a ruling to halt the building of the Dakota Access Pipeline. This pipeline, also being built by a Houston-based company, is planned to be constructed under the Missouri River for carrying thousands of barrels of crude oil. With the Missouri River being the largest river in the United States, there are possibilities that the pipeline will bust, ending in extreme pollution to the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation's only source of water and water throughout America. In addition to this, the pipeline is being built through the ancient burial grounds of the Sioux tribe. But the other part is last weekend, and this was published on the 1st of November, right? Yes. Last weekend, a pipeline in North Dakota owned by the Houston-based oil company Oasis Petroleum ruptured. Currently, nearly 70,000 gallons of crude oil has leaked out from this pipeline into the White Earth River, a stream that flows into the Missouri River, and also the same river that the Standing Rock Sioux are trying to protect by protesting against the Dakota Access Pipeline. I would think the environmentalists would be absolutely insane over this. Where are they exactly? Why is it falling to the vets to show up? Where's the Sierra Club and all these other posers?
Well, that's an interesting thing because I've been working on some of these issues for the past couple months, and the way all these groups work, all these nonprofit interest groups, whether they're on the right or the left, whether they represent industry or the environment, they're all professional organizations. So the people who run them, what they're concerned about is getting more money in donations and increasing their own personal power. So they've all these organizations, they have big, expensive buildings. Their executives make $500,000 to $1 million a year, and they want to protect that. They're scared to lose money. The wealthier people get, the more frightened they get because they don't want to lose what they have.
Very true. That's a good point. Very true. Yep.
This is the most dangerous. Go ahead. Keep going.
And they're all these things are stovepiped.
Yep.
So it's like, well, I care about plastic pollution. Well, I only care about trees. Well, I only care about this. All these things are interconnected. Like, if you really went through what the problems were in the United States, you'd see that, equal parts on the left and the right are correct about things. That it's a mix of problems that we have. And instead of addressing those problems, people gain personal power and political power by, orienting on one faction. Because if you have one faction on your side, then you can get their money from them, as opposed to actually telling the truth and really trying to fix stuff.
Amen. Absolutely. That's correct. Totally agree.
It's just, it's too bad that anytime there's any sort of meaningful change, it's always preceded, almost always preceded, by either violence or the threat of it. But I'm wondering, without the mainstream, I just hate to say this, without either about, 10 million caravanners or some help from mainstream media, is there any chance that enough light is going to be cast onto this situation to actually do anything? Because it feels funny. I mean, I just sense that these mercenary types, the muscle up there that's coming against the Sioux, they're going to lean on them even harder. I mean, it's going to wind up being another.
Let me tell you this, John, on behalf of the vets and Wes and everybody, never underestimate the heart of a volunteer.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. The heart of a volunteer is the backbone of this country. And the vets are the true heroes coming in, and the people that are standing on the front lines have been beaten up, practically tortured, publicly humiliated, and unarmed.
Unarmed.
That's a very strong spiritual force.
Unarmed. I mean, we're looking to do this thing. We're looking to follow. I mean, me personally, but also most of the command staff. We're looking to follow like the example of Jesus Christ and Gandhi and other people, and we're going to let them beat the heck out of us. I hope they beat us so we can turn the other cheek and really show Americans what courage is, because it's turning the other cheek. It's actually, and then forgiving the person who did it to you. Because look, man, I don't want anyone to go to jail for this stuff. I don't even want the guys who have rigged the system and the oil companies to go to jail. I just want them to stop doing what they're doing. It's like if you went home and your kids are making a mess in the room, your number one priority shouldn't be beating the crap out of your kids. It should be get them, hey, man, stop making a mess. Okay, now clean it up. That's it. That's the only way we can get through all this as Americans, because there's a whole lot of fear and hate and distrust that's out there right now. And the only way we can really get through it is if people forgive each other and come together. And look, for me, I know you probably got a lot of people that aren't religious that listen to your program, but, dude, we're all children of God. And we all have to treat each other that way.
Well,
it was interesting, John. Wes took me to a meeting in Southern California with highly influential people, change makers in D.C. in the environmental movement and so forth. And one of the most interesting things happened there. You got a room full of enough money and influence to change things forever for the better. And there was a guy that spoke there, total outsider, that represented the evangelicals. And he got up and spoke. And he said, I hope this doesn't, interfere with the vibe here or whatever. He apologized. And he says, we're the primary major voters of this country, and we are very influential. And how do we work together? And he said something that went right through the heart of everybody, and he got the most applause out of anybody there. And he said, this is about our children. This is about our children. It's about protecting our children and our families and our happiness in the future and the health and the Constitution of this country. And he said it completely differently, but he got everybody's ear there. And I'll never forget that moment, because he went right to the heart of the matter about who we are as a nation, who we are as a constitution, and who we are and how we treat each other as people in this country. It was quite amazing to see that.
All right. Well, how long? Oh boy. I guess you're prepared to stay in this as long as it takes. I mean, how long? I mean, anybody got a crystal ball that's working, or what?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I mean, I can't take credit for it. I mean, this idea for me came from above, but when I looked at when we could plan it, I just planned it because I got divorced a few years ago and I got joint custody of the kids, and I figured, well, here's a couple days I don't have custody of the kids. We'll just do it these days. So I got to take off, but I'm going to come back as soon as I don't have custody of them again. And I'm willing to live here to protect these people, because what's wrong is wrong. And it's not about, the opportunity or wait until the right time when you get the most, exposure for it or something else. I mean, look, when you see something wrong, you got to fix it right there. and you got to be willing to stay until it's fixed.
Oh, boy. All right, so now, what about the mobilization of the vets? Is the word out?
The word seems to be getting out. I mean, look, we just put a call out to people. We're self-organizing this whole thing, and by self, I don't mean me. I mean, like, people just come onto the group, and everybody picks up a role, and we've all been in the service, so we all understand kind of organizational structures, and everyone knows what their strengths and weaknesses are, and we just jump in and start working. I mean, we got people out there, we're all working like 17, 18 hours a day on this. Like, I get up at 4:30 every morning, start answering messages, start answering emails, start answering everything that comes across Signal and Wicker and everything else for us. And I know everybody else is doing the same thing. We are coordinating, and we've raised an entire regiment of veterans within 8 days of no one being paid for something that's going to take place during a work week, 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. And everybody's out there with the expectation that they will be injured and possibly jailed. And we did it in 8 days. So people in this country still care about freedom. They still care about the Constitution, and they still care about their fellow Americans. And they're willing to put their bodies where it counts instead of just writing memos to people or pressing a button on something.
Well, now, how is this being done? Social media or what?
We put the call out on Twitter, and then I created a event page on Facebook. And
okay.
Michael Wood Jr., who started doing this thing with me, he's a Marine vet and a retired Baltimore cop. And he's got a much bigger social media presence than I do. But we've just been working kind of day and night on this thing.
All right, so if people
we put out an operations order saying, here it is, here's what you need, here's what we're going to do, and it simply spread.
Okay, well, how do people find you on Facebook?
There's like a Wes Clark Jr. page, but I think they created another page because I'm getting flooded with so much information and so many decisions have to be made. Plus, I have to concentrate on working with all the different factions that are out there at Standing Rock, which has actually wound up taking a majority of my time. But so the organizational stuff is being handled back here.
Okay, I got you.
It's all done over the internet. But I'm sure they've already created a Veteran Stand for Standing Rock page. I'm sure there's a website out there. I know Michael created a GoFundMe site in order to pay for, we had to get tents, heaters. Buses are incredibly expensive to rent for like 8-9 days. And then whatever we have left over is going to go into funding for follow-on forces, as well as going to the people living in these camps and the tribes to help them out. Share and share alike.
Well, we've got triple dub on all of them, of course. OMAZE.com, official Standing Rock shirt. Get yours now. Then we've got NIVA, NEVAVets.org, Northwest Indian Veterans Association, sending a support convoy to Standing Rock. We've got women, or as I've come to pronounce that word lately, woman, plural, .unify.org/Standing Rock. Standing Rock latest updates. Join the live stream now, unify.org. And then keep the peace at Standing Rock, support water protection camps. Ask Obama to revoke Army Corps order to evacuate water protector camps by December 5. So there are 2,000 veterans to give protesters a break at Standing Rock. USA Today. I think that would. Huffington Post has got it too. 2,000 veterans to form human shields to protect Standing Rock. Here's one for GoFundMe /Veterans for Standing Rock. Put dashes in between the words. There's a bunch of stuff here. The freethoughtproject.com, U.S. Congresswoman and military vet to join the resistance by joining with fellow veterans at Standing Rock.
Tulsi Gabbard's coming out.
Yep. Thousands of veterans head to Standing Rock to form human shield. There's a bunch of stuff. All you got to do is into the search engine, just type in Veterans for Standing Rock, and man, here it comes. I mean, a lot of it, too. Amazing.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Well, right now, we got a South Dakota Highway Patrol looking in our window and following us and talking on the cell phone.
Right at this
I'm
moment.
in a car with no weapons in it, and another vet and a friend of mine, and my guess is this guy's going to try and pull us over while we're on the phone.
Well, hang with us. Hang with us for a minute.
All right.
Wow, this is extraordinary. It really is.
That's all right. Yeah, if they arrest me, they arrest me. We haven't broken any laws.
No, it's never stopped anybody before, has it?
No, it hasn't. But at the same time, there's all kinds of injustice in this country, and we're trying to tie people together through peace and love, and get over identity politics, and actually accept that we're all Americans and we're all in this together, man.
You know, this is really this is disturbing. The NIVA vets, NIVA vets, and that's Northwest Indian Veteran Association. So nivavets.org. Here's the statement. The peaceful protest in North Dakota against the Dakota Access Pipeline and to protect treaty rights, sovereignty, and natural resources has significance to everyone, native and non-native. This pipeline will transfer Bracken oil into the Missouri River over the Ogallala Aquifer, which covers Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, New Mexico, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Texas, and Wyoming, providing drinking water for millions of people. The basic human right of access to clean water to our future generations is in danger. If we allow these important water resources to be polluted, we will fail in our duty to protect the right of those yet unborn. But it goes on to state here, hurting women and children who are peacefully protesting this pipeline using private mercenaries and trained attack dogs while conducting a media blackout are tactics of domestic terrorism. NIVA reports the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and the peaceful protesters at Sacred Stone Camp. As veterans of the United States Armed Forces, we have fought to defend the rights of freedom and to defend this nation against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Therefore, we as veterans feel it is our duty to protect and support the people's right to free speech and their mission to protect the sacred. And then it says, we need your help to accomplish this mission. We're raising funds to make this very important journey to support the DAPL protest. You know, I had no idea. I mean, all you have to do is look at it, but there's so much. We are absolutely awash in information, but I got to tell you, I think this is one of those. This is one of those things that it's almost like somebody's rolled the clock back to 1968 or something. I mean, there's.
No, it's like that. It's what they're trying to do is, listen, we're essentially living almost in a police state. And I tell for people out there who think a gun's going to protect them from this, a gun ain't going to protect you, man.
Nope.
The United States government, I mean, you may be able to take some guy down who kicks in your door, but the United States government, its military and police and security forces, they're literally unstoppable. You can't fight them. The only way you can do stuff is peaceful. If you look at world history over the last 200 years, if you try and do a violent overthrow of a government, you have a less than 5% chance of success. And if you succeed, you inherit a country that is torn apart with hatred and resentment for generations. But if you do it nonviolently, if you do it without weapons, if you do it by being really brave and taking that punch in the face and taking that kick in the gut and taking that baton on your head, you got a 60% chance of success. You know, I'm a numbers guy on that stuff. I mean, for me, it's nonviolence all the way.
That's good to hear. It really is. It makes a lot of sense.
And instead of buying a gun, I mean, look, buy encryption, man. Buy an encrypted phone. Buy an encrypted computer. Because how they get you nowadays is your information.
Oh, boy. What's become of the policeman?
Well, where's the cop there, Sean? Is he still behind us? He dropped off.
Okay, good.
He looked at us. He called us in. Maybe there'll be someone up ahead. Who knows? I don't care.
Right.
At least it'll be warm in a jail, and I'm assuming I'll get a meal or two.
It's supposed to get cold here pretty quick this weekend. I heard there's a big system over Alaska that's supposed to bring cold down, real serious cold down on most of the continental U.S., so this is not exactly the ideal time of year to be going up to Dakota. It gets pretty damn cold up there.
Oh, it's not at all, man. It's 3 weeks before Christmas. It's like I've told everybody, man, do not bring any weapons. Do not, try and fight the police. Don't do any of that stuff because I don't want anyone hurt. I don't want anyone to miss Christmas morning with their kids.
Right. You know what, man? I'll tell you what. We need a whole bunch of people like you, Wes, and you too, James.
You know what? There's millions of people like me out there. It's just we've all been sitting on the couch watching it happen, thinking we don't have any power simply because we don't have any money. Because we're told all the time on the television by the mainstream media and everyone else that you got to look a certain way and you got to have money and you got to have power to get anything done in life. And I don't think you do. I think you got to have belief. And I think you got to have faith. And then I think you have to put it into action. And I don't mean action violence. I mean, you need to live the words that you read, not just sit and passively listen to them.
Wow. This is amazing. Now, how much longer will it take you to get where you're going?
Oh man, we got a while, but I got to tell you, I've already got like 50 messages I got to answer and some problems I got to solve. And I wish I could stay on longer. I mean, these guys have a phone, and I got a phone, so if we do get pulled over and arrested, we'll just film it and put it out on Facebook Live if there's any, And here's another thing. We have noticed that, our communications have been interrupted. They have been jammed. Certain of our things have been hacked. We've been unable to friend anybody who's been at Standing Rock on Facebook, but we're able to friend anyone else. So the government is involved in our electronic communications.
Yeah.
And they don't belong in those electronic communications. I could see if we were calling for violence or something or hurting people, yeah, okay, we should be under observation. We should be, watched or interrupted. But, for going out there and trying to live the gospel, they got no right to do this to us.
Well, look, James, make sure Wes has my phone number. If anything happens, I don't care if it's 3 a.m. Ring me, will you?
Yeah, I will do so.
Sure. I mean, look, I'm hoping these guys will see what a huge error they've made trying to up the stakes on all of us, and they just back off. Because look, man, no matter how much money they spent on this thing or how they may have to reroute it, no amount of money is worth someone's life.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm almost stunned listening to this because in my mind is playing out all these different scenarios. I hope that you get your way, and I hope that these people do exactly what you suggested that they might, which is just realize that, hey, these people are unarmed. We can't go leaning on these people. This is wrong. They have a right to protest this. This is constitutionally protected speech. It is.
I'm hoping these people develop a conscience.
We could use one.
That's the only way we're going to save this country is if people start developing a real conscience and how we treat each other.
Well, man, we haven't had much of a conscience when it comes to blowing the hell out of people overseas for I don't know how many decades. A lot of them ever since the 60s. So what is that? 5 decades of blowing people up overseas? It had nothing to do with anything.
And that's immoral. It's immoral the way we do it. But people are told, look, people in this country are trained to respect authority and they're trained to be spectators. Yeah. They're trained in obedience from the day they enter schools till they graduate. And the way the whole media works is all you have to do is watch a 30-minute news program and you'll see, they're talking about a whole lot of nothing. The people who are the actual newscasters don't have a very deep grasp of history, economics, international relations. They're in those jobs because they're good looking and they're pretty. Got a nice voice.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is sit through the commercials, and every commercial is, okay, here's a commercial where the oil industry tells you how much they're doing to save the planet. Oh, and here's another commercial about this bank that's going to look out for your interest. Oh, and here's another commercial for a pharmaceutical company to help you not be so depressed at how screwed up the world is. I mean, think about that. Those are the 3 main powers that control our news. 2 groups of people robbing us and destroying the planet, and then a third to provide you drugs so you don't feel bad about it.
Well, Roger Ailes himself up at Fox News said that there are some things he'd be happy to get into except for one thing, and it was about the vaccines. And that is, half of our advertising budget is made from pharmaceutical companies. So we can't do this, because if we do, we'll lose half of the money that we're pulling into the network right now. So, hey, okay, but sleep well.
You're right, but that's the whole problem with the United States.
Oh, yeah.
These days, people care. People who have a lot of money just keep needing more, and they're willing to overlook morality to get it. If they lost that advertising from those pharmaceutical companies and something else, okay, so maybe an anchor would get like $700,000 instead of $900,000 pay, or the person on the board, would only get $100,000 instead of $500,000. I mean, how much does it take to live? If you need more than $500,000 to live in this country, man, you got problems.
Yeah, somebody's got one. Yep, definitely. Look, I don't know how possible this is, but I think this is. I just sense that this is much more important than people think. It's not just look, it's like you said, we're indoctrinated by television, but this isn't just a bunch of Indians squawking about something that they have no business squawking about. This is, in my opinion, this is tremendously important, and I would really appreciate it if we might be able to work out some sort of an update. I wouldn't care if it was a daily update. I don't care if it's a 5 or 10 minute update.
I'll sort it out with you, John. I will sort it out with you, John.
James will be on the ground out there. He'll sort that stuff out. I'll tell you, man, the only reason I'm talking, because this is really one of the only interviews I've done. I talked to a guy from Task and Purpose magazine a couple weeks ago, and then I spoke to some woman from Slate a day or two ago for 30 minutes. But I'll be honest, man, I don't have the time to do a lot of press out there because we got so many moving pieces to this operation, and I can't let it fail. I mean, I'll talk to anyone, after it's done, and I'm not required on the ground. And just so you know, I'm never going to run for public office. And I'm not going to do that stuff, because I feel like if you're doing stuff for yourself, then it's just for you, and it really doesn't matter. So I'd prefer if you interviewed other people from our group rather than me, just to get other perspectives on it and what people think about it. And because, for me personally, man, when this is over, I'd rather just go back to my house, play the guitar, sit in the garage, have some cigarettes, and, get back to writing.
Okay, well, look, you do what you got to do. James will be hopefully our conduit to keep up with everything that's going on up there, and I mean it. We'll see this thing through with you as best we can all the way to the end, okay?
All right, thank you, brother.
All right, well, look, I got one more thing to say, and it may not mean anything to you, but it does mean quite a bit to us, and Pastor Cage is next, trust me. You two men have absolutely, in the manner of the late Patrick McGowan, gloriously illustrated and vindicated the right of the individual to be individual, an individual with a conscience. And I hereby induct you both into our Order of the Ark Knights with the additional title of Lionhearts for putting yourselves, your fortunes, and your sacred honor on the line by doing this in support of a righteous cause. And this assembly rises to you both, Sir Wesley and Sir James. And thank you very much. God bless and protect you out there. Please stay in touch.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Be seeing you. And you.